So I am filming in front of my window watching the first snowfall of the season. And I'm going to say, I'm not mad about it. And usually I would be. So this is a really good segue into our topic this week because we're going to be talking about why is being alone so scary. So this relates to the first snowfall because a lot of people, including myself, are not huge fans of winter. And I really don't like many things about it. It's cold, it's wet, it's very cloudy all the time. Usually there's like a lull in a lot of things. It's boring. You know, that is when I feel the most lonely. And so sitting here and watching this snow fall just makes me realize the beauty that can be found in it and being able to embrace the seasons of change because they bring the spring, they bring the summer. And if we didn't have these seasons of change, we wouldn't appreciate the summer and we wouldn't appreciate the spring when they happen. So going into our topic of why is being alone so scary, the reason why we're so scared of it is because we have stigmas around being alone, we have past trauma, we feel we're not worthy of love. So therefore we sit in this anxiety because we think we're never going to be able to find it. And this plays a huge part in how we feel about ourselves, which makes being alone really scary. So for me, I've always had this fear of, because I live alone and, you know, heaven forbid one day I fall down and die and I am not found for 3 or 4 days and 50 of my cats, I'm going to assume that because that's what single ladies do over a certain age, is have 50 cats, but they're going to be all eating away at me and my dead body. It's horrible to think, but that is the stigma around loneliness and being alone, that, you know, we're gonna die alone. And that is our greatest fear, which is understandable. But however, is that actually what is going to happen? No, because you control how you feel about yourself in your situation. But here are some reasons why you may feel scared to be alone. Number one, we have this stigma around loneliness, as I've mentioned, because we feel that being in a relationship means you're successful. So as we've seen in society, in movies, in our parents' relationships, in our friends' relationships, basically, in order to be successful in life, you must be partnered up, you must be married, you must be in a committed relationship with someone else because that makes you worthy. I'm sure you have felt that at some point in your life. But this is hard for women, especially because if you do not get past these mile markers or these milestones in your life at a certain age where you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have children, after that point, you get to this feeling of undesirability. We feel unwanted. And at that point, we feel like we can't meet anyone because we're like these old crooked witches with all of our cats. But, and I know this stigma is changing, but even when dating, older women feel less desirable because of this inner idea that we have about ourselves. But we need to screw that idea. So we'll talk more about that, but let's go on to the second one. So past trauma. So you may or may not have had past trauma, whether it was within your childhood or your past relationships, but I'm sure there's a lot of feelings that you've had about yourself that you've pushed down. And so over the years, you've just kept busy, you've ignored your feelings, and you come to this point where you know that you're alone now, and you have to face those feelings. You have to face yourself. And I mean, that's super, super uncomfortable. And that's scary because you know you're going to have to deal with the things that you need to deal with. And at that point, you may or may not like yourself. So having to meet yourself and face those feelings you have about yourself and having to deal with them is something that no one wants to deal with ever. But it is something you need to deal with in order to get to this point where you do love yourself. Because if you continue to put those blockades up of your negative feelings, then you're never going to have a happy life. I'm sorry to say. So, last but not least, you have, in addition to having that past trauma, the feelings of not being worthy of love. You have a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-confidence, and a lack of self-love. So these past relationships affect our self-confidence because, because we think we failed in them, and we think that we're a loser if we're alone because everyone else has a relationship and everyone else is happy and we're alone. And that lack of relationship symbolizes our unworthiness, which is just not true. So because we have this lack of self-confidence, we don't think we can ever find our person because there's something wrong with us and no one wants to be with us. So all of this plays into our fear of being alone. So what can one do when you're alone and you don't want to be alone, but you have to deal with it? Well, unfortunately, my friend, you are going to have to come to terms and accept it. That's the first thing you need to do. And as hard as that is, it is really and truly the most important step in your self-love journey and your self-discovery journey. And I would recommend that you take some time for yourself, and that means taking yourself out of the dating game for a while. And I'm not saying take yourself out of the dating game forever. That is not what I mean. But really take some time to consciously focus on yourself. Because if you're on a dating app, you are constantly looking for these relationships to fill that self-worth that you don't have. So you need to be able to fill your cup yourself. So taking yourself off those dating apps will help you build that for yourself. And that is scary, but that is your steps to finding yourself and loving who you are and not needing that acceptance and love from another person, because you can give it to yourself. So number 2 of what you can do is uncover what alone has meant to you and why. So why do you feel so negatively about being alone? And it could be a lot of the things that we previously mentioned, but I think uncovering why you feel alone and what it's meant to you is really important to start to reframe how you feel about being alone and what you've always known, and start thinking of it as a privilege rather than a burden. Like, you get to be able to have a second chance at life. You get to be able, or a first chance at life, if you've kind of been in a season of being single for a while. But look at it as an exploratory adventure for yourself, where you get to do the things that you want to do and you don't have to worry about anyone else, and you get to really explore who you are on your own terms. So take a look at those definitions for yourself of why alone means that you're a loser or it's a negative definition for you, and start to reframe it, because that's going to help you move forward. Thirdly, bring attention to what you've been ignoring. So, as I previously mentioned, we tend to harbor a lot of feelings. We throw ourselves into our work. We throw ourselves into everything but dealing what we need to deal with. So start looking at, what are some of the feelings that you've been having? What are the personal goals or tasks that you've been ignoring that you need to take care of? Whether that's even your finances, what if that's, a relationship with your parents or your sister, or something that's really been lacking. Take a look at those things to put your energy into and focus on that. Focus on your needs. What do you need in the season of your life? Do you need to invest in more time into, movement? Do you need to invest in a healthy lifestyle of eating better foods? Whatever that may be, start to bring attention to what you need and what you've been ignoring, because most of those things are within you. Number 4 is, again, reconnecting with yourself, but also start thinking about the life that you do want. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? The past relationship, you may have been investing your entire self to that person and forgetting who you are and what you liked. So start discovering what those things are for you, and those parts of you that you've lost over the years or within that relationship. Because that is, again, going to uncover your identity once again. You're going to feel connected. You're going to feel like you have a sense of purpose again. And start looking at what you want in your life, in relationships. Start writing that stuff down, and don't settle. Don't settle for things that don't give you any worth, that devalue you. Only invest your time in things that mean something to you, that are valuable to you, that make you feel good, because anything else isn't worth it, your time or energy. And number 5 is connect with your community. You don't have to be alone. You can connect with people in your community, whether you have family in the area or not. You can connect with people who are surrounding you, whether that means finding a group that interests you and join it, volunteering at a shelter or some other organization that you feel aspire to do so. Building connections with people in your community can give you that love that you want so badly from someone else. Because once you start investing in yourself and investing in things that you feel passionate about and people you feel passionate about, finding a partner is going to feel less important to you. And because your focus is going to be on other things. And so lastly, and to round out this video, is look at alone time, look at your singleness or your loneliness, quote unquote, as something good. Look at it as a time where you can start building your life that you want with no restrictions or restraints from other people. You can really start doing those things that you've always wanted to do that you felt like you couldn't do in a relationship. And being able to discover those parts of yourself that you've hid away or you've pushed down because you don't have anyone to answer to anymore. So you truly get to be you. And when you start being you, you radiate this goodness that actually attracts things into your life that are meant to be. So really, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're building a relationship with yourself, and you're also, in turn, attracting those things that are meant for you. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know that it's coming at a very timely time with the seasons of change going into winter, and knowing that even myself, I feel lonely during the winter months, that hopefully this will help you find some resonance and some ideas to help you feel not so lonely, because being lonely doesn't mean you're a loser. Being alone doesn't mean you're not successful. Look at all the things you've done in your life and look at all the things you could do in your life. Do you need a partner for that? I don't think so. So go enjoy your life, explore who you are and what you want to do, and be alone and embrace not having to answer to anyone. See you in the next video.